I don't know if y'all saw, but 23andMe is going bankrupt, and I imagine, Providence has some stake in what happens with all that data, because it was y'all that were looking it up and like, no, I just wonder, you know what I mean? Like sometimes, I don't know, there's just some days where I feel like a little Scandinavian, and no, it's just fun to find out. It's like, just how German am I? And you get those percentage breakdowns and stuff. It's like, all right, do you? I don't know. I wonder. I truly wonder. I knew they had some black people in the commercials, but I do wonder how many of us it was. Because every time I saw an ad for like a 23andMe, I was like, I have a general idea. Nah, I don't need to be sad today. I would rather not. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And send me a bag. Send me a PDF that says slavery. They got you. No, I was good. And one of the reasons that was good is that early on, like I'm finally vindicated where I can say this and not seem crazy, because even at best, if my thing is like wrong, it still wasn't the best business plan, so they're going to, so I don't look as, because my friends looked at me like I was out of my mind. I had so many friends, all white. I had so many friends doing 23andMe, and I was like, don't do it! And because I was a truther. I was like, look at what the company is doing, and look at what they're researching. Yeah, I mean, there are so many of these like heritage companies that are also putting money into pharmaceutical industry, and it's just to figure out how much of something people get when they're a certain lineage, invest in those drugs, expecting that thing to finally pop up one day. And people were like, that's so paranoid. And I was like, yeah. Paranoid is like why I won't do the thing. Like, okay, how do I put this? Paranoid to me is if you're right and you're paranoid, you're like spot on. If you're paranoid and you happen to be wrong, you do start to be crazy. Like that is what a crazy person, like now I'm crazy. If I was wrong and they were just a blossoming company and they were only helping the world, I'd be that one dude on the corner, don't take it. I mean, that would be me. But look, all I'm saying is I told so many people, I was like, hey, you don't need to know. You made it through. Because then I had some friends where I was like, you don't even need to know because I can tell you. How about that? I'll do you that favor. You don't need 23andMe. I'll do it for you. I have a friend who, okay, these two friends, they're the sweetest, but they make marriage such a curiosity to me, because I don't get, okay, she had kind of given him this ultimatum, right? Like really, go ahead and like, we're either doing or we're not, you're either in this or you're out, right? And so then he went ahead and proposed, and they got married. They're still married. And I don't know, like as a bystander, his friend, closer to him than her, I don't know why she would do that to herself, right? Because I I went out to dinner with them one time, third wheeling it. It's okay because they're married. It's not awkward. I'm just chilling with my buddies, right? My buddy and his wife, who I'm now friends with as well. And the server comes over and we're ordering. And then the server asked if there were any food allergies. I said no. And he turns to her and goes, "Do I?" "Do I have any food allergies?" And she answered. She was like, "Yeah, shellfish." He was about to order the lobster bucket. And I was like, how is it worth keeping him alive like this? You literally forced an ultimatum to make it your job to keep him alive. Your prerogative, do what you want, but wow. You ever been driving and then you see like an animal on the side of the road and you're like, oh, we have to do something, someone might hit that animal, and so then you stop the car and you catch it and you put it in the back seat and you take it to like a local shelter or something, and they're like, hey, so sorry, we're really overrun. So then you take it home and it sort of becomes your dog over time, and you love it and you take care of it and you keep it alive. And that is exactly what she did with my friend. With my friend, she saw this dude who, if left to his own devices, would eat all the shellfish, not fully hitch himself, fully just get a puffed out head. And she was like, no, I need to not only stop that from happening, I need to make him my entire responsibility. And so when she was like, yeah, shellfish, and he was like, oh, right. I was sitting there like flabbergasted, right? And then we're eating, and as we're eating, she lightly starts choking, right? Like starts choking on her meal, and she's like doing the coughs and trying to get some water. Like just you can hear her trying to force it out, and we both recognize that she's choking, and we both we don't fully stand up because we're in a booth, but we start to like push up a little bit, like as if we're gonna have to get up, and I'm about to come around, and then he's like, spit it out. Sir, what do you think her plan is? Do you think she's like contemplating spitting out, but oh, it's just so good? I bring up this entire thing because he did a 23andMe. And I was like, bro, I can tell you right now, all right? You're half jackass. You're a quarter dumbass. And you're another quarter ass. He has a very big butt. He is thick. No, it's insane. Because then 23andMe not only was getting everyone's like data that had their DNA, also home addresses, also payment methods. So there's so many different things that are bad about a breach to 23andMe versus like a breach of Target or a breach of some other company that has a whole lot of credit card transactions, right? There's like actual things about you as a person in there. And I know as Americans we don't care about our data. We don't. Our data, man, look, we gotta start respecting ourselves. For real, we are out here loose with our data, all right? You know what I mean? I'm not trying to shame, myself included. We are slutty with our data. Letting anybody get it. Anybody can get it. Anybody that feels like typing can get some of it. Not careful anything. We could have VPNs. We could have so much stuff. No. let's be a little loose. There was already a data breach of 23andMe, and that freaked investors out. It freaked people out. It's like, what do people want with like my DNA results, you know? And then that stuff was apparently sold on the dark web in bits, and it's like, that's terrifying, because I don't know what the dark web is. Everybody keep talking about the dark web, but whenever I go to Safari, it's just regular web. Everybody talking about the dark web. I don't know. I'm not even saying I want on. I just don't know how to get on, which scares me because I feel like I might accidentally get on one day. Do you know what I'm talking about? You know how you could go somewhere? Like, to me, the dark web feels a lot like gang territory. When I was growing up, if you go on a long enough walk, you end up somewhere you're not supposed to be. But you're like, these are the same feet that take me home took me here, so I wasn't trying to do anything, but that doesn't matter. Once you're in the territory, it's like, why are you wearing that color? So then, imagine, I'm just on the regular internet. I go to Safari, Firefox, any of it, and I type in the website. I get it one letter wrong. All of a sudden, my screen black and the letter's green. I'm sitting here trying to get out the matrix as fast as I can. And police quick with it now. They kick open the door like, why you on the dark web? It's like, no, it was my thumb. I didn't want this at all. So yeah, apparently a bunch of our data, a bunch of our DNA results are already on the dark web, which is insane. And then you have 23andMe, to their credit. This is why business is scary in the US, right? We get mad at companies for creating a product. And they used to create a product. Our parents and our grandparents know about this. They used to create a product and they put together the pieces. They had the best pieces to make the best product. And so if it ever broke down and you understood how the product was made, you could buy one of those pieces and fix that product, right? It's why our grandparents had TVs from the 60s. Because you could just go in there, you could open it up and be like, okay. And now purposefully, whether it's for IP, there are places that will sue you. There are certain phone companies that will straight up sue you if you fix people's phones for a business. Then some of those same companies will make it so everything is one use. So if it breaks, you have to buy another one, because that's how they keep the revenue coming in, right? They don't want you to be self-sufficient and actually know how to fix this thing, because then you might do it. They'd make less money, right? So they make a worse and worse product and they charge more and more for it. And if everybody does it, it becomes the new norm. And so now you don't expect anything to last for 4 or 5 years. And that used to be short term. You used to get things that last you for 10 years. My boy's granddaddy had a laptop. It might be the first laptop. It's honestly so old we can't even tell what the brand icon is, because that wiped away a long time ago. This computer looks like it was made in the movie Dune, like it's futuristic and old at the same time. And you turn it on, and the on button is hard. It's extra hard. You gotta press it with some girth. You gotta really lean on that on button if you want to turn it on. If you just press it, the computer's like, you don't want it bad enough. You gotta put your thumb almost in that button, and then you hear not even a click, you hear every key is clickety-clacking and hard as hell. And then when you turn it on, it does cough. Turn it on, it makes all those fake internet sounds. You can hear the fan inside of it fighting for its life. The fan inside, because now all the blades of the fans and everything have an almost silent motion to them. Sometimes you can hear you can just hear them if they're really working overtime. I had this Lenovo laptop in college. It was one of the last laptops where it looked like, if you look closely enough, you could see at least one of the fan blades moving, right? The fan in this laptop, first of all, I think it's missing a tooth. Because it's trying, it's coughing, and it's trying, and you can hear it. His computer moans. I forgot to mention that. And then, if you want to turn on Wi-Fi, there's nothing clickable. You want Wi-Fi? You got to hit that switch. You got to slide a switch at the front of the computer. And then you get a little stick with the little edges on the side. Beep, 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 you know. This laptop got everything but an antenna. And his granddad knew computers, or at least he knew computers well enough back when computers first came out, like first computer, just little 0, little 1. He had it on lock. And so he fixed his laptop over and over and over again for years, to the point where even now it'll turn on. You got to press extra, you really got to lean your body over it, but it'll turn on. And that day is gone. We're not in that anymore. We're in the world of tech companies putting out their products and soldering it to make sure that if you open it, you destroy it, right? And 23andMe, to their credit, they came up with a good product. They came up with a very good product. The problem was you only needed it once. And so that was pretty much their undoing. Some people are going to say it was marketing. Some people are going to say it was general business plan. No, the thing that 23andMe did that was wrong in today's America was making a good product. People only needed it once, and then they could forget about it. And they tried the subscription thing. They tried it. And people, even my white friends were like, no, I got it. I mean, you said 45% Scandinavian. I'm going to take your word for it. I don't need to keep spitting in cups and sending them to you. That was the other thing I didn't trust. You know what I mean? Like, you just spit in a cup and mail it. Nah. Admittedly, that was a black thing for me. I was like, I'm not just gonna put my DNA out there for someone to have in case. Imagine now your mailman a murderer. He see that 23andMe package, he's like, this will do nicely. Now the mailman kills somebody on his normal schedule. He open up your 23andMe and then dump out your little sample. See, they did it, right? And you can tell they did because they kissed him on the forehead right after. No. And so they made a very good product. Some would say an incredible product. There's connection. There's connection in knowing where you come from, especially if you're deeply in search for it. Finding those answers can be really special. Not special enough for me to spit in the cup and then mail it, because it's like, nah, you're not gonna get me, right? But one day, in some way, maybe, it would be beautiful to figure out exactly where you come from, trace your entire lineage and everything like that. But a good portion of our life is genetics, but another portion is of where you come from are the people around you, the people that raise you are where you come from, your environment is where you come from, your culture, your community are where you come from. You know, if you have a good handle on those things, you know yourself. All the rest of the stuff is just gravy, you know? Because they tried to do these like home diagnostics, and that was a very bad idea. They were incredibly inaccurate, so people were either thinking they were in the clear or worrying for no reason, because you would do the 23andMe, and if you did the like pro premium package with the home diagnostics stuff, they'd send your sample back. They give you a PDF being like, yeah, you got diabetes. And then you would be like, are you sure? And they would say, no, I truly have no idea. That's the other reason I didn't do it. Not only am I like, no, I'm not gonna get my DNA out. What if you're a murderer? I also don't want to worry for no reason. Now, imagine somebody sending you something in the mail that's like, it's bad. It's bad, it's very bad. I'm not sure. Don't take my word for it, but it is pretty bad. I already have people in my life to do that. Truly, I already have people in my life giving me horrific medical advice. Just some of the worst stuff you've ever heard in your entire life. I have a friend who doesn't eat vegetables. Doesn't eat vegetables because he doesn't want to eat anything too phallic. I was like, well, explain your logic to me. And he was like, no, just dog, like, why, you want me to eat a cucumber? Try to bite a cucumber right now. It's all in your face, all hard and stuff. Not me. Not me. A carrot? No. I was like, you could chop it up. That's what they do. Do you think in a salad that they just lay the whole thing down? What are you talking about? Chop it up and eat your vegetable. He's like, no. You want me to hold? First of all, you want me to hold it and chop? You want me to hold? You want me to? No. That might give me nightmares, dog. I'm like, all right, yeah, be deficient in everything then. Just walk around needing a nap twice a day. That's on you. Horrific medical advice. The type of medical advice that makes you go, oh, okay. I didn't think there'd be anything worse than WebMD, but I found you. So they were doing these home diagnostic tests and everything, and they were sending people stuff back being like, yeah, you got a bunch of like heart stuff in your family. And then they would act accordingly. They'd go to their doctor, they'd run a bunch of tests, and if they were lucky, that was like incorrect, you know? Or sometimes they would miss whole things, you know? They'd be like, nah, you good. You good. In fact, your blood pressure low. You might want to get something salty right now. Nah, hit that pork chop right quick. You have the pork chop, all of a sudden you dizzy. Why is my whole left side hurt? And so now that they're going bankrupt, there are people that are looking to buy it, and some of those people are like potentially insurers, which is terrifying. Is everything that I told people not to do when they were on the up and up. I'm like, hey, so now an insurance company is gonna buy your DNA and then not let you do any claims, because they're like, no, we know you sick, dog. We saw the 23andMe. You know, because if you do a 23andMe of a corporation, they are 100% devil. Also somehow 100% efficient. No, it sucks. I look at where I come from, and like I said, it's from the people who raised me, people who put me together, or what I'm made up of. Like, there are people in my life that I was very fortunate to meet young who were much older, so they had a lot of wisdom to pass down. I remember there was this woman who would she'd just drop gems on me every now and again, out of nowhere, right? One time she said to me, she was like, you know, be very careful when you're picking a partner. Be very careful who you have a child with, because you're not making a baby, you're making a soul. And that's forever. She also once told me, don't ever trust somebody named after fruit. And I was like, what? And she was like, seriously, if somebody comes in your life named Clementine, she a hoe, all right? Don't trust any Clementines, okay? nowhere one time she told me. We were just sitting, and she was saying this about people, but she was like, when you finally see yourself the way that the people that love you see you, what a wonderful world that'll be. That's all the world's missing. It's people that see themselves the way that the people that love them see them. Truly, like, there's, in everything that people do and everything we search for, we try to find it in all these other places, but there's a level of acceptance that other people have for us, and sometimes we reject it or we think we don't deserve it. But if we could see ourselves, you wish it. You wish it on people when they're battling addiction and depression. You wish, it's like, oh, I just want you to see yourself the way I see you. If you saw yourself the way that I see you, you wouldn't feel this way about yourself. You know? She also once told me never get in an argument with a woman and then eat the pie she makes after that argument. That's a pie full of glass. One time she told me, I don't even know where it came from, but she said that sometimes when people are searching for love, that all they really need is to find someone who reminds them of their best day. Find someone who feels like their best day. You're gonna argue, you're gonna not be able to stay in each other sometimes, but you can find somebody that feels like your best day. You won't always be happy, but you'll be like really in love. She was like, you find someone who feels like the best day that you've ever had. Because the best days only come once in a while. Every day can't be the best day, by definition. But if you find somebody that feels like your best day, you found a truly good life. She also told me that one time she got in an argument with her ex-husband, and she decided to let it go in that moment, you know, and bake him a pie. She was like, wasn't my best day. I understand why people would want to do 23andMe, and I understand, at least on the surface, why they went bankrupt. They made the mistake of making a really good product and giving it to everybody, and everybody only needed it once, and that is tough. That's tough to watch people use their thing and watch that valuation go up. At one point, it was worth $6 billion. Billion. $6 billion. That's crazy. And then, you know, they started dropping off left and right. You know, people were like, oh, I'm not going to renew their subscription, or I sent it to my friend, but they don't want to take it. And the other reason people didn't want to take it was the other thing they did that was really good, but was their undoing, was they were helping to catch a lot of murderers. There were a lot of murderers who didn't even do 23andMe. They were like, I don't care how Scandinavian I am. And they're like, well, your cousin does. Hands behind your back. And you over here. That's tough. That's tough. You know what I mean? Because look, listen. I'm not rooting for criminals, okay? But how would you feel if you did all that planning? Do you know what I mean? You do all that planning, you rob a bank, you make it out scot-free. They're gonna make a movie about this one day and not know how to end it. You made it off scot-free, didn't kill anybody. Very low charges if they catch you just brandishing a weapon. Get on the ground, you know, you took all the money and stuff like that. Haven't even spent it yet. And then one day, it's very quiet. It's so quiet that you're like, damn, it's quiet in here. And maybe you live in an apartment building. You're like, usually I hear somebody arguing with their spouse, hear some kids maybe. I mean, you know, hear some loud music, some teenagers around here. And you don't hear anything. And then out of nowhere, they bust open your door. They've cleared out all the neighbors, like, get on the ground. And you're like, what? How? How is this possible? You don't even have the money on. You planned it so well, the money's buried in another state. How? Oh, well, when you were robbing the bank, you cut your finger and it bled a little. And a brother you don't know you have spit in a cup in Providence, Rhode Island. And honestly, we wouldn't have found you if it wasn't for that. Like, we were like, all the markers aren't matching and we can't seem to connect the dots. And then your cousin spit in that cup. Turns out, you're pretty Scandinavian. You are very Scandinavian. Pick you up off the floor. Oh, thanks. Had no idea. Carting you off. You know, who knows, maybe 23andMe's data, your data, will end up in good hands. Yeah, if you feel that way, you should delete it off the website right now. We are so loose with our data. What a month, you know? This is a lot has happened. Taylor Swift's album dropped. And OJ died. White women are having a month. This is... Wow, this month is for you specific. The two best things that could happen for you. Wow. You'd think this month was really named after a white woman named April. Like, incredible. Nah, Taylor Swift is breaking so many records. Like, I'm sure she's breaking them now as I'm speaking. She released her album, it hits 300 million streams in the first 12 hours. It's like, never happened before, ever. And people are freaking out about reading into the lyrics of every song. There's like scavenger hunts, there's everything. And this is the thing for me with Taylor. A lot of people trash Taylor, and I don't know, I don't get it. If somebody likes something, let them have it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it brings people joy. It's not hurting anybody, except maybe Taylor's exes. Like, it's hurting nobody. Like, people are having a good time and stuff. If anything, I hope it makes the world a bit more compassionate, you know? There are a lot of people that like Taylor, and the people that don't get it. But I hope that the people that like Taylor will be able to give some grace, because I think that Taylor Swift, she does for her fans what wrestling does for dudes. Do you know what I mean? Like, because if you're not a wrestling fan, you're like, what are they even doing? Why are they moving all stupid? It's just... But if you get it, you're in it. And you're like, you just don't get it. You weren't there, you know? But they're very similar, you know? If you don't like it, you don't get it. And you're like, who likes this? And it turns out the answer to both is millions of people. You know? same way that there are a lot of little girls and young women out there that want to be Taylor Swift, or older women that see themselves in Taylor Swift. I think every man in here has looked at a wrestler and every man in here has watched some wrestler at some point and then walked away like, I wish somebody would f with me. Like, I wish, I would just, There are people that listen to Taylor Swift songs and feel it, like truly feel, like in their bones you can tell they feel the song. It speaks to them in a deep way, and they've never been in a relationship at all. Like Taylor's describing her breakup in an exquisite fashion, but then a person who's never been through anything is like, oh my God, yes, yes. It's just like that time this other totally unrelated thing happened to me, yes. Same thing with wrestling, you know? Wrestling storylines will tear you up. You know? Like when a wrestler turns heel and he turns on all his friends. Yeah. Guys watch that and we're like, just like Greg. Triple H, he really evil. I didn't grow up with money. I think it's funny when people make a lot of money and they're known as new money, you know? And people they feel how they feel about it. You know, like a lot of athletes are new money, a lot of entertainers are new money and everything. But nobody ever talks about new poor. We never talk about new poor, and we don't feel bad for new poor. A new money backstory is always inspiring. It's always like, I came from nothing, and I studied hard, and I played football to the best of my ability, and then I got a scholarship. I got a scholarship to a good school, a scout school. And then I played every day like the scout was there every day. I put my body on the line, and I still studied as hard as possible in case football didn't work out. But you know what? I had a great game in front of a scout. They brought me out. Next thing I know, I'm getting drafted. And you know, now I'm one of the top earners in the NFL. We love a story like that because it felt like all you really needed was to do your best, and you could make something out of that. So we love new money. But nobody ever talks about new poor. Not only do we not talk about new poor, we don't really feel bad for new poor. Yeah, I mean, you ever hear a new poor story where it's like, oh, we've actually, you know, as a family, we were kind of a dynasty. We were rich for 250 years because we owned a lot of farms. Yeah, we owned a lot of farms, and you know, we were big in tobacco, and so as the farming industry lended itself to a more industrial tobacco industry, you know, we profited, and it was my great-great-grandfather that actually sold his shares in the tobacco company, and he had other ventures that he wanted to go into, and you know, he had some sons, but only one of the sons really had kids, and so all the wealth just kept getting consolidated. Less and less people had kids, so then it was all down to Trent. And Trent took some big swings with crypto, and it didn't go as planned. And so that's why Trent is working at this Piggly Wiggly. And why he's not a very good sweeper. You know, he doesn't really understand the broom needs to touch the ground. He just... It is genuinely hilarious watching someone rich try to do a job. It's a little disheartening, but you're also like, look at him go. I remember my first experience with Newport was a kid in my neighborhood. I didn't always live at the best neighborhoods. I'll put it like that. And there was a kid when I was little that moved in, and you could tell he was Newport. We were playing. I think we were just playing in like this lot, and he walked up to us, and he had just moved in with his parents, and you could tell he was Newport because his name. You could tell he was Newport because his name was Thurston. And I remember when he said it, and there's a thing with kids where, for whatever reason, and it just is what it is. Sometimes kids take a certain shine to each other, or they don't like each other, or whatever. But we liked him as soon as we met him. We just really did, and he was so earnest. He's a sweet kid, and so we were just like, you can play with us. We don't care. And we didn't even really have a concept of money in that way to look at him sideways, right? We were all just kids. But when he said that his name was Thurston, I was kind of like, ooh. That's the most punchable name I've ever heard in my life. So, look, I tell you what, we gonna call you 30. And if anybody asks why, just say you did something real bad 30 times. And so we used to love hanging out with 30. And 30 was Newport because his family had been rich for a long time. They probably owned a few farms. But 30's dad lost it all in the .com bubble. I don't know. Yeah, I guess if you don't know anything about it, back in the day when the internet was very new, a lot of companies were like adding these online sites to their brick and mortar stores, which was obviously super profitable for some businesses, and for some businesses it didn't matter at all because it was about the infrastructure of being able to send everything. But we didn't know that initially, so there were some companies whose stock price went up just because they had a website. And then it all came crashing down when people started looking for returns on these incredible stock prices, but most of these companies just had like a website with a broken link. And so, you couldn't pull your money out fast enough, and 30's dad didn't pull his money out at all. So they moved in next to us. We take walks and stuff. We like walk around neighborhood once in a while and everything. And there was a dog. There was a dog that was in the yard of one of our neighbors way down the street. And this dog was a big dog, and he had like a big thick collar, and he had a chain that he would wear, and the chain had some length to it, and the chain was around the tree. And 30, he hated it. He hated every time he saw it. It made him sick that there was a dog that was outside chained up against a tree. It didn't matter how much room he had to run around and stuff. He just didn't like the concept. And he'd bring it up. Every time we passed by, he's like, they got that dog chained to the tree like some kind of animal. And I was like, yeah, 30. Crazy stuff. And look, I'm not even saying that is right. I'm just saying it was a very big dog. Like, it was like every time 30 would like protest that he want to go over there, he's like, I just want to like let him free. You should be able to run around. I was like, all right, but okay, listen. At that house, they live with that dog. So they probably know something we don't. Maybe they tried the whole freedom thing out. Maybe they used to have 2 dogs. That's a big ass dog. Maybe I'm not saying you have to love it. I'm not saying it's not wrong. I'm just saying that they may have tried other things. Maybe they tried making him inside dog. Maybe they used to have more family members. Do you see what I'm saying? And there was one day where we were walking down the street together, and he peeled off from us, and he did it without saying anything, because I knew that he knew if he said something, we would try to stop him. But he just started walking over towards that house, and I told him, I was like, hey, I'm pretty sure that's a dog from the Sandlot. So you really don't need to be playing games. Don't go over there, right? And then even as we saw him kill, we were like, 30, where you going? 30, where you doing? 30, 30. Started saying it slow like it was his real name. 30! Get back over here. And this kid climbed the fence, jumped over, and the dog is like laying down, but he's not asleep, but he's just sort of laying in the grass. And 30 jumped over the fence, ran over to the chain, and the chain had no lock, it was just wrapped. And so 30 pulled it a little bit, released the slack from the end of that chain, and the whole chain just drops to the ground. And now the dog has not been moving. The dog's just sort of laying there. But the dog heard the chain drop, and he felt the slack release on his collar. And the dog turned around and looked at 30, and even the dog was like, "Are you sure?" You must be new poor. And so the dog turns around and he just, I don't know, just, you know, like when an animal is made of muscle? When they just have like phenomenal National Geographic level power. This dog whipped around and just started charging at 30, right? Now 30, in his very sweet mind, he thinks that this dog is bounding towards him for a hug. And so he actually starts to bend down and open his arms. He's just getting a wide stance. Now the dog, because the chain did have a ton of length to it. I want to be clear, this dog wasn't wrapped up against a tree like some Tom and Jerry cartoon. This dog actually was bounding for a while, and he was bounding so fast that like it was either all 4 feet touching the ground or nothing. Like the dog was like this or he was like this. I've never seen a dog float like that. Like the dog is coming at him like a bullet. And from where we were standing, by the way, all of us had been yelling run. We've been yelling run since we saw that the chain had no lock on it. And so then you see Larry, just arms open, but even he started to be like, I've never seen this sort of reaction from a young pup before. And the dog is bounding towards him. And as it starts to really get close, 30 immediately just turns around and starts to run. But his wires are so crossed, he's still in the crab stance. So he's like, ah! And he grabs the fence and he climbs up the fence. He climbs up the fence so fast that he doesn't even try to get over the other side. He just slams to the ground on the other side. And he gets up and he dusts himself off. And he walks up to us. And I'm like, I told you that was the dog from the Sandlot. Why would you go over there? It's your new poor ass.
Asheville, North Carolina, make it loud for Josh Johnson!
I've been very excited to come here. It's been years since I've been to Asheville, and I like being here because y'all have it all. You know, you have like street crime and woods crime. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, this is one of the only places in America where a deer could get shot with a Uzi. You know what I mean? Like, y'all really moving out here. No, it's incredible. I was, last time I was here, we were on the road and we were headed to a show, and there was a dude. Okay, there's no good way to pop out the woods. I'm trying to be fair to him, right? Like, I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know how it could have been better, but there's no good way. This dude, we're passing by in the car, and things happen fast when you're on the highway and everything. But from far away, until I passed him, I see this dude pop out going. And it's so hard to tell if he needed help or if someone else needed help. Do you know what I mean? Like, you either the victim or the assailant, but you looking like you could be equal parts right now. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't like his head, like it wasn't like he had an injury or something. He's like, oh, what happened? He looked surprised that there wasn't more woods to run through. This dude popped out of the woods like there was supposed to be more trees. This man popped out of the woods and froze. And my friends and I were just looking at him in the car as we passed. One pointed, and okay. He ran out of the woods as if to be like, oh, I made it, I'm free. Or, damn, they got away. I can't tell which one it was. No, because he was dressed. It wasn't like he was a naked man, but okay, even if you're wearing clothes, there's a certain amount of legs open that make you feel naked to other people. Yeah, I mean, the fact that he ran out it doesn't matter that I have pants on right now. This is a very naked stance to take. This doesn't look, these aren't regular clothes stances. And so the fact that he ran out of the woods and stopped and was looking around, it's like, you might as well be naked because you're making us a naked amount of uncomfortable, My man busted out of the woods. And, I wasn't next to him. I was in a car, thank God. I was in a car. But you could just tell from looking at him, he breathing heavy, which means he was running in the woods for quite a while. Looking around all low. Why? Just stand up. Like, do you know what I mean? There's nothing to hide behind now. So being this low, legs open, looking around, this is a much more comfortable position to look around in. This man ran out, and we saw him. Okay, so we saw when he busted out of the woods, we were pulling up, so we saw him bust out of the woods, and then one of my friends pointed, and I know he couldn't hear us. I know he couldn't hear us. Like you should know I know that. I know he couldn't hear us, and the windows were up. He couldn't hear us, right? But my friend was like, do you see that guy? And right when he said, do you see that guy? This man, I turned, I looked, and he looked at me. Now, I know I'm in a moving car. He probably just looking in my direction. But I screamed like he was in the car. I wanted to have nothing to do. The fact that this man, I'm lit like this, and then this man, nah. Sometimes it's not the time to smile, Smiling after running out of the woods, I think you are the assailant. I think that you... But no, it's great to be back. It's great to be back in Asheville with you. Can I tell you a story? When I was a kid, I was walking down the street, and it's funny, man. Art can save your life. It really can. Cause I was walking down the street, and there was this dude right in front of me, right? And I wasn't like too close to him, but I was just basically keeping up pace with him, and we hit a light, and so he stopped, I stopped, and I was just looking around, and I saw a new mural that had been painted, and I don't know, it just fascinated me. I took a second to look at it, and I guess the light had changed, and we had the right of way, and he went off walking, and I was still just staring at it. And then, just as I decided that I had taken it in enough, I turned and got ready to take that step off the sidewalk. And then, in the middle of the street, this car had, I guess, run a light and was about to run another light, and it hit that guy, the guy that I was right behind, you know? And he's okay, by the way. I mean, he did get hit by a car, but like he's the level of okay that you are years after getting hit by a car. He moved on. Like, he walked away that day. It mostly hit his ass, but like it did graze him in a way that, like, because I was just a couple steps behind him, and because I've been keeping pace with him for a whole street, I was like, that would have hit me square. You know? I mean, they were trying to stop. They had slammed on the brakes. That's actually maybe one of the reasons I turned, because I started hearing the screech, and I saw it, boom. And he got up, but he did bounce. Like, it's like, if he bounced, I would have flown. I don't know why it is when you get hit by a car, sometimes your shoe fly off. I don't know why people don't tie their shoes tight enough, but like, this thing like hit him from behind. He spun and he went up a little bit, and his shoe flew right, but his shoe took so little resistance to fly off. Like, it would be different if he had like rolled over the windshield and the shoe flew off after that, but the shoe started flying off before it looked like he was really going in the air. It looked like he had one shoe and one sandal. The shoe was so ready to fly off. Anyway. I still can't get over what happened Sunday at the Super Bowl. Like, I want to be clear about something, right? I watched the Super Bowl not really rooting for any one team, just sort of watching to watch. This is a big event and everything. And the Chiefs lost harder than the Eagles won. I don't know if that sentence makes enough sense, but it, like, at a certain point, I was just like, maybe I could play. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not good either. I could get tackled too. Oh, that was rough. That was hard. There was one point where I was watching it, and I was like, guys, you want to watch a good game. Like, in my mind, you want to watch a good game, especially when you don't have any loyalty to any team. You just want to watch like a really fun, wow, that's crazy type game. And it was such a thrashing that I was like, y'all, not in front of Taylor. Taylor done shown up and got dressed and everything. And there was one point that they went to Taylor on the camera, and they booed Taylor. I was like, what did she do? Do you know what I mean? There's nothing America hates more, apparently, than a woman minding her business. Because even she was like, I couldn't have done anything. But I tell you what, you know, I want somebody to believe in me, to
to really, truly, from the bottom of their heart, believe in me the way those commentators believed the Chiefs could make a comeback. The things that I was hearing made me feel dumb. I started to feel like I didn't understand football at all the way they were talking. They were talking so wild about, so first 10 points that the Eagles got, they were like, hey, fun little fact for you. Every time the Chiefs win in the Super Bowl, they come from behind. I was like, what's that? Is that, all right. Okay. And then the Eagles scored another touchdown. They were like, well, it's only the first half. Anything could happen next half. I was like, all right. And then they have the halftime show. Then they come back from the halftime show, and then they're asking one of the announcers, they're asking one of the commentators, like, what was the mood like in the locker room for the Chiefs? Like, what was the plan? And the person they were talking to was like, they know. No, they know they like 34, 39, whatever points behind. They were mostly talking about that. They were like, oh, we got to go out there and correct that. That doesn't feel good at all. We got to do the opposite of that next time. Was the general mood in there, was to just be different than they were before. I think there was a little prayer. Yeah, they were in, they were in tough spirits, but they're going to try and make a comeback in this next set, because, Taylor's here. We got to do it. And it was the third quarter. The Eagles scored again. And the announcers came on, they're like, look, you never want to celebrate too early if you're the Eagles, right? Because you have no idea what these Chiefs could do. You can tell they're just trying to save the ratings as hard as possible to make it seem like there could be this 10-second comeback of 59 points or whatever they need. It was the most insane. I was like, no one has ever believed in me the way that they're like, you never know though. Even when it was the last 5 minutes, they were like, you never want to celebrate too early, because that's how you can lose the game even when you are 99 points ahead, okay? It's the hubris that loses games. I'm sitting there like, do I not know how to count? Like, it's too many sevens away. I think they got it. Like, I'm not the best at math, right? I'm not the best at math. I needed a math tutor, and my math, okay, I was the algebra, okay. Math is like one of the only things that I really struggle with genuinely, and not like basic math, but math once it gets like conceptual, right? And so I had to take Algebra 1 twice. It's the only class in my life, I think, or maybe there's one other, but it's one of the only classes I've ever failed and had to take again, right? And so I'd take Algebra 1 twice, and I was so thankful when I finally got like a C after the second time. And then they made me take Algebra 2, and I was like, last I checked, 1 + 1 is 2. I don't know what y'all are trying to do to me, okay? But I was at Algebra 1, okay, I had 2 math tutors, and one tutor quit. One tutor quit because it was, okay, they were helping me, and then I was basically getting things so wrong that they were questioning. They had to get away from me before they didn't know algebra anymore. And so then I knew I was bad. I knew that algebra was never going to be in my job description, because my second tutor, there was one time we were working on a problem, and she stopped herself just short of fully saying it, but she saw me struggling so hard. This woman almost said, sound it out. And she stopped herself, but you could tell, beneath the surface, there was this thing of I don't even know how to help right now. And don't get me wrong, I'm not judging. I hate when people look at the efforts of elite athletes as if they're not all incredible. The Kansas City Chiefs are good. They were just bad that day against the Eagles. I throw a football like I just got an arm. So I'm not gonna be over here judging too harshly, right? It's just the way that they fought so hard. Oh no, they can pull it out. Trust me, they can do it. You know? And then my friend shared a theory with me. This was crazy. This dude told me, I was talking to my buddy David, and David said, because I told him the thing I just told you, right? I was like, I've never seen a game like that where they've tried to make it seem so even the whole time, even though the numbers were on the screen. And my buddy David said that Tom Brady was one of the ones really pushing that narrative, and he thinks that it was because Tom Brady is jaded from the fact that off of this potential three-peat, people are already calling Patrick Mahomes like a GOAT, like putting him in that conversation. And so they're like, they're basically lifting up Patrick Mahomes very quickly and very young, very like, you could even maybe say a little early in his career for the GOAT conversation. And then Tom Brady, who's obsessed with the game and gave so much of his life to it, sees that and feels some type of way. And so he was basically telling me that every time they did that, that was actually just Tom Brady digging in. And I watched some of it again, and I think he might be right. Because it was coming off hella sassy when you watch it back with that context. Like when you see Tom Brady commentating on the game, he's like, yeah, Mahomes. I mean, you never know with these Kansas City Chiefs and how good Mahomes is. Maybe he can come back from 30 points. I mean, maybe he's just that good. We don't know, right? A lot of people are calling him the GOAT. I mean, not today, but a lot of people are calling him the GOAT. So maybe he could do it. Interesting strategy, getting sacked again. I've never seen anything, but this Patrick, he's good. He's very good. He's probably used this as a strategy to lose by so many points in the first half that he really comes back in the second half. Because he can, because he's Patrick Mahomes. You know, back when I was playing, I tried to not get sacked, but I guess if I had been sacked more and then won after that, people would be more impressed, but it's... And then you had the Super Bowl halftime show. By Kendrick Lamar. This was crazy because, okay, everyone has their opinions about it, right? But I know when I was watching it and it started and I saw Samuel L. Jackson. I saw Samuel Jackson, camera goes over to Samuel Jackson, he's like, it's your uncle, Sam. And I was like, oh, we had already started. That was dope. That was dope to have Samuel Jackson as Uncle Sam was dope. Because one thing is obviously the little like wink wink cute thing, right? But one thing that Kendrick is incredible at doing, something I haven't seen people really be able to do, whether it's through music or imagery, is layers to a story. And there's multiple layers to everything that happened, right? Samuel Jackson is playing Uncle Sam in Body of America, welcoming us to the Great American Game. The Great American Game is in the game of Kendrick's life that's about to play out, right? That's why we see the PlayStation controller on the football field, the game as in football, and the game as in the thing that we're all in, the thing that we all play. Whether you feel like you're playing it or not, you're a part of it. You know? And one thing you have to watch out, because Kendrick leaves these Easter eggs and stuff like that, you also can read so deep into it, you go off on a deep end, where if you were able to talk to Kendrick, he would be like, nah. The internet is full of them. The internet is full of like, yeah, so then he had these dancers come out in red, white, and blue because Drake, because he beat Drake blue, and then you gonna see red because we beat him so much that the red comes out and Drake is white. Like, I think that's a very misguided take. But you can get there. It's very easy to get there. You try, you start searching, hunting, trying to read into every little thing. And if you're not careful, yeah, you go off on some deep end. That's not what anybody intended, you know? And this dude says it because that's the other thing. He sets you up with some pretty fire lines that make you start digging. He specifically says, you wouldn't get the picture if I sat you for hours in front of the Louvre. So now even I'm digging. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, the Louvre. All right. Drake is Canadian, French Canadian, the Louvre. Yeah, French Canadian, the Louvre, like in France where they keep the art, but Drake's not an artist, no. No, that might not be it. That might be, that was dumb, my bad. And so he does the snippet, some people are calling it bodies, and then he does Squabble Up, and out of nowhere, after Squabble Up, Samuel Jackson comes out again, no, too loud, too reckless, too ghetto. One of the things that if you've been black in America at any point you've heard about yourself, whether you overheard it from people talking behind your back or it was told to your face, too loud, too reckless, too ghetto, there's something wrong with you just being yourself. You know? And it's delivered by Uncle Sam. Right? I don't know, when I go to like a new place, one time my friend was asking me, because I travel so much, he's like, how do you know how racist a place is when you go there? You know, don't you think about it? I was like, yeah, I think about it. You know, if you're black and you travel America, you think about it a little bit. And I was like, you know, this is the way that I know. I'll just go to like a West Elm or a Patagonia or a Lululemon, or I'll just walk in and look around, do a little shopping, and just smile at people. And however long it takes them to smile back is probably how much danger I'm in. You know, you go into Patagonia, you smiling at everybody. Hey, and you get a couple smiles back quick. You're like, all right, we're safe. But if you walk into a West Elm and everybody just looking, looking at each other too. No, you say something. Somebody finally approaches. They're like, can I help you? I know we're not staying there tonight. So then this dude, Uncle Sam, Samuel Jackson, tells him, tighten up. He asks him, Mr. Lamar, do you really know how to play the game? Do you really know how to navigate? Do you really know what's expected of you? Do you really know what to do next? Then tighten up. And that's a wild conversation to have with someone who maybe even thinks they're helping you, right? Because that's been told to me in different ways by lots of people. Like, tighten up. Watch yourself. Don't be too loud, too ghetto, too reckless. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's white people, sure, but sometimes it's older black people that I know that just want you to be safe because they know how the game is played, right? Because I don't know if you can tell by looking at me, but I'm not exactly a hard individual. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not,
You know what I mean? Not only am I not a hard individual, I remember one time, my mama tried to raise me to be a gentleman, and there was this one time I was in college, and I'm working on a group project, and one of our classmates was ready to go to her car, and she was like, "Hey, does anybody mind walking me to my car?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she was like, "Does anybody mind walking us to my car?" I'm not a hard individual. I'm smiling at everybody. Literally, I use the smile test. That's how I know if a place is safe or not. I smile. I make myself open, right? I show. I'm no threat. And I even got in trouble with my friends one time because we were walking down the street in Chicago, and made eye contact with this cop, and he was like mourning, just a little passing mourning, and then I didn't realize it came out like this, but apparently I was like, "Officer." I don't remember it like that, but apparently that's how I sounded. My friends were very upset with me. One of them said I said it like I was welcoming him home. I thought I just said, "Officer." Apparently I was like, "Officer." So once again, I'm not a hard individual. So if I've got the speech, if I've got that speech, tighten up. That's too loud, that's too reckless, that's too ghetto. If I got it, damn. There's no end to the game that you can try to play with respectability politics. You can either be yourself or you can't. And if you can't, then to whatever degree that you can't, doesn't really matter. Do you really know how to play the game? Then tighten up. Goes into Man at the Garden, and Man at the Garden is one of those things. It's a refrain. I deserve it all these things, right? And he's on the block, and you see these boys on the block, so black, gold teeth, dreads, everything. And then they scurry. They see Uncle Sam coming. Uncle Sam walks up. Kendrick's already walked off, and he says, "Oh, you brought your homeboys with you. Okay, little culture cheat code." Turns to the camera and says, "Scorekeeper, deduct one life." And some people didn't hear it. Apparently the mixing wasn't great for everybody. So there were some people whose review of Super Bowl halftime was pretty bad, and some people thought they were just being haters. But no, genuinely, depending on where you watched, it depended on the mix that you heard. So there were little things that Kendrick said that either went over people's heads, they didn't quite hear, music was too loud, too soft, whatever. I was watching the Super Bowl halftime on Tubi, and Tubi did incredible. Tubi knocked it out of the park. I was like, man, Tubi was like, this is our chance. We cannot mess this up. A lot of people don't know we exist, and we're literally free. We have to knock this out of the park. And they did, because I heard everything. I saw Samuel Jackson turn, scorekeeper, deduct one life, and that thing hit me hard, because that is what happens. That is part of the game. You should know that. That's one of the reasons that it's sometimes scary to stand up, it's scary to be different, because whenever you build community, they usually deduct one life. Whenever you make a movement, they deduct one life. And there are plenty of examples of it happening with black people and black culture, but it is everybody, just so you know. No matter who you are, no matter what you look like, no matter when you came to this country, try to start a union. And look, it might not be you. They might miss.
but it is what happens. Deduct one life, and it's wild to hear Samuel Jackson deliver that line, because Samuel Jackson was an usher at Martin Luther King's funeral, right? Like, Samuel Jackson used to be way more militant, and I'm not saying he's not now. I'm just saying, like, back in the day, he was about that action. He'd lock you in a room and wait till you came to your senses. So then they go to peekaboo. I don't know, it's just funny to me what Kendrick just played the peekaboo. I had to laugh. People have so many theories about peekaboo, about him using Luther and all the stars, SZA coming out, being on the triangle. Like, I'm not acting like I caught every single thing, but I know that when Samuel Jackson pops up again and he says, yes, see, that's what we want. That's what we want. That's what America wants. Nice, calm, you're almost there. Don't mess this up. Right? Yeah. Because if we're being honest, that is the truth of the matter. People, even sometimes people who love hip-hop, love black people, love anyone different the way that people love those tigers they take pictures with. I don't know if you've ever been on Tinder, but every once in a while on Tinder there'll be somebody with one of their pictures is just them next to a full-blown tiger, hugging them, and the tiger's sedated as hell. The tiger is over here. And they're over there hugging its neck like they're in the Jungle Book. Like, we have to protect these beautiful animals, all right? We have to preserve their way of life. Oh, shoot him again. Shoot him again with a dart. He looked like he was opening his eyes for a second. So sweet, so gentle. Deep down, they're just gentle creatures. Shoot him again. He moved. That leg. I don't like what that leg doing. Looked like he gonna get up. And that is how people sometimes, prefer their hip-hop, prefer their protests. Why can't you just do it sedated? Why can't you just tone it down a notch, right? And then he plays Not Like Us. And people lose their minds. I loved him. I loved him playing it because of what he said when he started it. 40 acres and a mule. This is bigger than the music. They tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. That's wild. If you really think about those lines in any context outside of the Super Bowl, outside of Drake, the song, Not Like Us, everything, they still stand all on their own. How many of us feel like we're in a rigged game? And it was beautiful to watch Not Like Us get played on that world stage, Drake tried. He tried his best. That dude tried his damnedest. Not only did he try, that dude went to Australia. Not only was he not in America, he was under the earth. This man went under earth to do, to his credit, I'm not acting like he's not a big artist. I'm not acting like he doesn't have an album dropping this weekend. I'm saying, like, this dude went under the earth to do an arena show just to make sure at least these people aren't watching the Super Bowl. Can you imagine? You go to that Anita Max Win tour, you paid extra for tickets, you pretty close, and you get a little curious. Drake on stage, what is that? What is that? Get him out of here. Oh Then, you had that dude. That dude performed not like us. When I was what was it, like 2 years ago? I went to visit my friend. Now my friend had a baby years before that. By the time I met his kid was 5 because we hadn't seen each other a really long time. And cutest kid. It's crazy that my friends are having kids because I can see. You ever see somebody who looks so perfectly like a mix of their parents? You see perfectly both of those people in this new person. And we were supposed to hang out all day, and he went and we were in the kitchen and he grabbed something for us to drink. And so he had poured himself an almond milk, poured kid something, was like, "Will you want anything?" I was like, "Oh, I'll just take that." And then poured me something. He's like, "I'm gonna just go ahead and get changed. I'll be right back." He goes upstairs and now it's just me and his kid. And I'm like, "How you doing?" He's like, "I'm good." And it's crazy because he even had I'm just meeting this kid, but he already had my buddy's mannerism. Just that shoulder thing. "I'm good." It's exactly like his dad. "I'm good." I was like, "Oh, okay. You having a good day?" He's like, "Yeah." You know, it's like, "You excited? I think we're gonna go to the zoo or something." He's like, "Yeah, sure, I'm excited. Be fun, you know." And then he turned around and he knocked my milk over. And this kid had been so sweet up until this point. I was sure it was an accident, right? Until he turned to me and he was like, "I spilled your milk." And when I tell you that thing was imprinted on my memory, I had actually forgotten about it for these 2 years. Until Kendrick said, "Say, Drake." Kendrick Lamar has an incredible smile, but he always seems to use it for dastardly deeds. This man said, "Say, Drake." I haven't been that scared. I know he was talking to Drake, but even I was at home like, ooh. That man whipped around and said, "Say, Drake," like he just ran out of the woods. Oh, that was crazy. That was insane. "Say, Drake." And then you see a glimpse of Serena. I couldn't believe I saw Serena dance. I was like, "Is that Serena?" And Kendrick and Dave Free must have known we wouldn't believe it was Serena because then they showed her again. I was like, "Well, that is Serena!" That's Serena over there, crip walking. Which, if you pay attention to the layers, you pay attention to the storytelling, one of the most beautiful things about Serena being on stage, crip walking, dancing, right, is not just as a sort of FU to Drake, right? Because it is. Because her and Drake, you know. And then Serena moved on, and Drake couldn't handle it. A lot of people think that Kendrick Lamar is Drake's kryptonite, and he really isn't. Drake's kryptonite is a woman who's moved on. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing that Drake hates more than a woman minding her business. And so he would make songs, little sneak disses at Serena, little sneak disses at Rihanna, all this stuff, right? He loves beefing with women who have moved on. The best way I can sum up Drake to me is one time I was in Chicago, and apologies if you've already heard this little quick story, but I was in Chicago and I was sitting on the train, and this woman gets on the train, beautiful, knockout gorgeous woman, right? And she ended up sitting next to me. And then this other dude gets on the train and he's sitting across from us and he tries to holler, You know, he's like, hey, sweet thing, how you doing, right? Now, this dude, to be fair, was very good looking. He was very good looking. Like when I looked up at him, I was like, oh, you two would make sense. Very good looking dude, put together, everything. And he's like, hey, sweet thing, how you doing? What you doing? Where you going? How's your night? You know? And then she looks up from her phone and she goes, oh, nah. And I hated that I was sitting next to her because I had to turn all the way around. But she goes, oh, nah. And he just sits there. Sits there for like, maybe 40 seconds. And then train doors open. And he looks at her and he's like, you can't hurt me. And then he got off the train. And that's what a lot of Drake beats with women feel like to me. Because the layers of Serena dance is not just like this F you to Drake. Is one, also, we're playing the game, right? We're all part of the game. And as a black woman having a good time. It was also pre-revolutionary. You know? If you follow Serena, and if you follow tennis, you'll know that when she did the same dance at Wimbledon, they came for her hard. They said it was too loud, too reckless, too ghetto. And now she's doing it in front of the world. In front of the world with nothing but joy and people cheering her on, right? Giving us full circle moments. I thought that was so dope. You know? I even tried to do it. I hurt myself. I popped right up. I was like, oh, Serena! Look! And I think that one of the most revolutionary things you can do is just have joy. Just have a good time. I watch so many people just having fun. I watch people watch it and have fun. That warmed my heart just to see so many people having a good time. I know it wasn't for everybody. I know there were some people that thought it was boring, they didn't like it or whatever. And he said ahead of time, you wouldn't get the picture if I sat you for hours in front of the Louvre. So it may not be for you, and that's okay. But I watched so many people have such a good time. It was dope, you know? And it's more than fitting. It's a blessing. It's an honor to talk with you about this, about black music, about black joy at the Orange Peel in Asheville, North Carolina, a place that in the 60s and 70s had incredible black acts. You know, was sometimes one of the few places that they could get booked, where black-owned radio stations had DJs do party nights. Like, it was great to be here, and I appreciate you having me. You know, it's. I think that for the most part, when I think about the halftime show, and when I rewatch it for the 100th time, and there were so many people that were critical of Kendrick. It should have been more. He should have done more. He should have gone up there, been more militant. He should have done this, should have done this. And it's like, look, can I just tell you, I'm not trying to be a bummer when I say this, but everything you've ever watched that ever went out on a broadcast that you thought was revolutionary or you thought was ultra militant was approved for you to see by a corporate lawyer. Like all of it was, you know? In fact, whenever a moment gets through that's not that thing, that person usually faces swift consequences. There are so many people that are like, no, he didn't go far enough. He could have done so much more. And it's like, look, I understand. That's what people are saying. But if you really believe that, if you really believe that he should have done so much more, I can tell you this, art can save your life. Art can absolutely save your life. I believe it from the bottom of my heart. But believe me when I tell you that entertainment will never be your salvation. All right? Art can save your life, but entertainment by and large is escapism. And no one has ever escaped their chains by forgetting they were there. So you cannot, when I tell you, you will not be saved through entertainment alone. Expecting Kendrick to rap so good that Trump is like, I'ma stop. Like, be serious. If you really believe that, if you really believe he didn't go far enough, he didn't do enough, there was so much more he could have done, forget the symbolism, forget the double entendres, he should have spoke plainly, he should have put it all out there. I have great news for you. There are these things called books, all right? There's these things called books, and every revolutionary that the government was scared enough to murder, almost all of them wrote one before they died. And they're so confident that you won't read it, they have it for free at the library. I'm just genuinely, I don't know what to say sometimes when people are like, why didn't he do this? It's like, I don't know, man. I'm not in his head. You know, he's great. You can't expect him to save you. He did an entire album where he said he wasn't our savior. The whole album where he was like, yeah, but I rap. I think it was incredible. I think it was a phenomenal show, especially in a year and a time where there are people that would have Black history disappear. You know, there are people that would have us forget. And I think the only way to stop Black history from going away is to make more of it all the time. Make new history all the time, new moments. You know, because so many people were like, man, it was so boring, I didn't get it. And it's like, it's the most watched thing right under the moon landing, but I'm sure that was hate watching. You're right. I think that whatever you take away from the performance, if it's art that touched you, that made you feel something, that's good. That's all you can hope for. But if you want like a revolution, if you want change, you're probably gonna have to go outside and get some or make some. That, like, if you want, like, because then, you know, he plays Not Like Us and then we all scream Mustard. DJ Mustard comes out, they're dancing. And one thing I really loved about the performance, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, is that almost always what people will do, the Super Bowl thing to do is go out there and play your hits. Make a medley that reminds us why we love you, right? And this dude, he did some of his hits, but he mostly did this GNX album. He even says it when they start playing TV Off. This is GNX. We came here from Compton, California to party with y'all. Master. You know? Then the Super Bowl halftime show ends after he hits that TV Off, game over, cold stuff.
Loved it.
And then they come back. Tom Brady's like, well, let's see if Patrick Mahomes can like really bring it home. Like, he's so good. I've heard he's great. I've heard he's fantastic. So I'm sure he can come back from this 2,000 point deficit.
No, for real though. If you want change, art can save you. Entertainment will never be your salvation. And so if you really want to see a different neighborhood, a different country, a different world, you probably have to turn the TV off.